You've probably noticed that some people have an undeniable presence. They walk into a room and everything shifts, not from what they say or do, from what they are. People are drawn to them without understanding why. Opportunities find them. Synchronicities follow them. Life seems to flow toward them effortlessly. And you've wondered, what do they have that I don't? Is it charisma, confidence, or something deeper? Carl Jung discovered that what people call magnetism, or aura, isn't mystical energy. It's psychological wholeness that others perceive unconsciously. When you integrate your psyche at deep levels, you emit a frequency that attracts people, opportunities, and experiences aligned with your consciousness. And this attraction isn't manipulation or technique. It's the natural result of becoming psychologically complete. Today I'm revealing Jung's 8 methods for developing what he called numinous presence, the magnetic quality that awakened individuals naturally possess. These aren't tricks or spiritual practices. They're psychological integration methods that create authentic presence others can't help but respond to. And if you apply them, you'll notice everything starts moving toward you instead of you chasing it. Here's what Jung understood that changes everything. Spiritual magnetism isn't about projecting anything outward. It's about integrating everything inward so completely that you become a coherent field. Most people are psychologically fragmented, at war with themselves internally. But Jung discovered that when you integrate all parts of your psyche, you create a unified field that others perceive as magnetic presence. Jung called this individuation creating gravitas. When you're whole internally, you don't need to seek externally. And this lack of seeking, this completeness in yourself, is what draws everything to you. People sense you don't need them. And paradoxically, this makes them want to be around you. Opportunities sense you're not desperate, and they flow toward you. Life responds to wholeness by offering more. Most people try to develop magnetism through external techniques, confidence, charisma, energy work. But Jung insisted real magnetism comes from internal integration. Stop leaking energy through internal conflict. Stop fragmenting attention through psychological warfare. Become whole within. And magnetism happens automatically. The first method reveals where most people lose their power. Jung's first method: integrate your shadow completely. Every part of yourself you reject, deny, or suppress creates energy leakage that diminishes your presence. But when you integrate shadow, own your darkness, acknowledge your capacity for everything human, you become whole, and that wholeness is magnetic in ways performance never is. Think about the energy you spend managing your shadow, pretending you're not angry when you are, hiding selfish impulses, denying your sexuality, suppressing your aggression. All of this takes energy that could be creating magnetic presence, but instead goes to maintaining false presentation. One of Jung's patients described this shift. I spent so much energy hiding my rage, my selfishness, my darkness. Then Jung had me integrate it, own it, accept it, stop fighting it. The moment I did, something changed. People responded to me differently. Not from me becoming dark, from me becoming whole. I wasn't fragmenting my energy managing shadow anymore. That freed energy created presence I'd never had. This is what Jung meant by wholeness creating magnetism. When you stop fighting parts of yourself, all your energy becomes available for presence. You're not leaking power through internal warfare. You're unified, coherent, whole. And that wholeness attracts because most people are fragmented. You'll know you're doing this when you stop hiding parts of yourself. when you can acknowledge your full humanity, light and dark, without shame. When integration replaces performance. That's when magnetism emerges naturally. Jung's second method: eliminate all forms of neediness. Need repels. Completeness attracts. When you genuinely don't need external validation, approval, or outcome, when you're complete in yourself, people and opportunities move toward you naturally. Because neediness pushes away what you're trying to pull toward you. Think about how neediness operates. You need someone to like you, and they sense it, creates repulsion. You need an opportunity to work out, and you chase desperately, pushes it away. You need validation, and people avoid you. Jung discovered that need creates energetic push that repels what you're seeking. One of Jung's analyzans described eliminating need. I was desperate for a relationship. The desperation guaranteed I couldn't find one. Then through Jung's work, I became complete alone. I genuinely didn't need a partner anymore. Within weeks, 3 people expressed interest. Jung explained, neediness repels, completeness attracts. When I stopped needing relationship came naturally. This is what Jung meant by attraction through completion. You're not playing hard to get, you're genuinely complete. And completion is magnetic because it's rare. Most people are walking need, unconsciously pulling on others. When you're complete, you offer space rather than need, and people gravitate towards space. You'll recognize this shift when you stop seeking validation, approval, or specific outcomes. When you're genuinely fine, whether things happen or not. That indifference, not fake, but real, is when magnetism activates. Here's Jung's third method. Develop such deep self-trust that others instinctively trust you too. People unconsciously mirror your relationship with yourself. When you trust yourself completely, your knowing, your decisions, your path, others sense this and trust you automatically. But if you doubt yourself internally, others sense that and doubt you too. Think about people you're drawn to. They have certainty, not arrogance, but unshakable trust in themselves. They're not seeking approval because they trust their own knowing. And Jung discovered this self-trust is unconsciously contagious. When you trust yourself, others trust you without knowing why. One of Jung's patients described developing this. I used to second-guess every decision, seek opinions constantly, doubt my knowing. People sensed this uncertainty and didn't trust me. Jung had me develop radical self-trust, trusting my knowing even when I couldn't explain it. Once I did, people started following my lead without me asking. They sensed I trusted myself, and that made me trustworthy to them. This is what Jung meant by self-trust creating external trust. You're not convincing anyone of anything. Your internal trust radiates as a field others perceive. They don't consciously think, I trust this person. They just do. Because your self-trust is palpable. You'll know you've developed this when you stop seeking opinions before decisions. When you trust your knowing, even when others disagree. When you're unmoved by others' doubt, because your self-trust is solid. Jung's fourth method. Maintain impeccable energetic boundaries. Don't let others' moods, projections, or energy affect your internal state. When you're unmoved by external chaos, stable within regardless of external turbulence, you become an anchor others are drawn to. Because most people are tossed by every emotional wave around them. Think about how most people operate. Someone's angry, and they become defensive. Someone's sad, and they try to fix it. Someone projects onto them, and they absorb it. They're constantly reacting to external energy, which creates instability. But Jung discovered that people who maintain their center, regardless of external chaos, become magnetic, precisely because of that stability. One of Jung's analysans described this. I used to absorb everyone's energy, their moods, their projections, their chaos. I was constantly destabilized by external states. Jung taught me to maintain my center, regardless of what was happening around me. Once I could do this, people started seeking my presence specifically during chaos. I'd become the stable point in the storm. That stability was magnetic. This is what Jung meant by sovereignty creating magnetism. When you're not blown around by others' energy, you become the calm center people gravitate toward. Not from coldness, but from stability. That's rare in people who are constantly reactive. You'll recognize this when others' moods don't affect yours, when you can be with someone's chaos without becoming chaotic, when you're the person people seek when everything's falling apart. That stability is magnetism. If you're applying these, integrating shadow, eliminating need, developing self-trust, maintaining boundaries, Jung would say, you're building the foundation of genuine magnetism, not performance, not technique. Psychological wholeness that others unconsciously respond to. Before we continue, check out our new guide, True Self-Discovery, with 24 practical reflection exercises designed to help you find your way within. Click below to get true self-discovery. Now, these final 4 methods amplify everything. Jung's 5th method. Speak your truth clearly without apologizing, explaining, or softening. Not from aggression, from clarity. When you say what you mean without hedging, others unconsciously respect this. Because most people can't do it. They soften, hedge, apologize for their truth. Your unapologetic clarity is magnetic because it's rare. Think about how most people communicate. I think maybe we should, I don't know. Possibly consider hedging, softening, apologizing for having an opinion. This creates energetic weakness others sense. But Jung discovered that clear, direct truth, stated without apology, creates presence that commands attention. One of Jung's patients described this. I used to soften everything I said, apologize for my opinions, hedge my truth. Jung confronted me. Say what you mean, clearly, without apology. When I started doing this, people responded differently, not negatively, with respect. My clear truth was magnetic because most people can't speak theirs. I wasn't aggressive, just clear, and clarity without apology is powerful. This is what Jung meant by the magnetism of authentic speech. You're not trying to be liked or agreed with. You're stating your truth and letting it stand. And this unapologetic clarity, when it comes from integration rather than aggression, is magnetic because it's so uncommon. You'll know you're doing this when you stop softening your words, when you can state your truth and let others have their reactions, when you're not trying to control how your truth lands. That's when your words start carrying power. Jung's 6th method. Become completely comfortable with silence. Most people can't tolerate silence. They fill every gap with words, noise, distraction. But Jung discovered that people who can hold silence create magnetic presence precisely because they're not leaking energy through constant output. Silence conserves power. Think about people with real presence. They don't fill every moment with talking. They're comfortable with pauses, gaps, silence. And this creates weight. Their words matter more because they're selective. But most people are so uncomfortable with silence they talk constantly, which dilutes their presence. One of Jung's analysans described this. I used to fill every silence with nervous talking. Jung had me practice being comfortable with silence, in conversations, in groups, in my own mind. Once I could hold silence without anxiety, my presence changed dramatically. People started listening more when I did speak because I wasn't constantly outputting. Silence had conserved my power. This is what Jung meant by the power of containment. You're not withholding, you're containing. You speak when you have something to say, not to fill silence. And this containment creates presence because your energy isn't constantly leaking through unnecessary output. You'll recognize this when you're comfortable with conversational pauses, when you can sit in silence without needing to fill it, when you speak less but people listen more. That's silence creating magnetism. Jung's seventh method: develop the ability to walk away from anything that doesn't serve your evolution, relationships, opportunities, situations, without guilt or explanation. When people sense you'll leave what doesn't work, they unconsciously recognize they must rise to meet you or lose access. This creates magnetic pull through selectivity. Think about people with real magnetism. They're not available to everyone. They're not desperate to make things work. They'll walk away from what doesn't align without guilt. And this selectivity, this willingness to lose what doesn't serve, is what makes access to them valuable. One of Jung's patients described this: I used to cling to relationships and opportunities even when they didn't serve me, afraid of loss. Jung taught me to walk away from misalignment without guilt. Once I could do this, everything changed. People sensed I was selective. Access to me became valuable because I wasn't available to everyone. Paradoxically, walking away created magnetism that made people want to stay. This is what Jung meant by magnetism through selectivity. You're not playing games, you genuinely only engage with what serves your evolution. And people sense this. Either they rise to meet you or they lose access. Both outcomes are fine to you. That indifference to outcome is magnetic. You'll know you've developed this when you can walk away from anything, jobs, relationships, opportunities, without guilt. When you're more committed to alignment than to keeping things. When walking away feels like power, not loss. Jung's eighth and final method: stop revealing everything about yourself. Maintain mystery. Don't explain all your moves. Don't share all your thoughts. Keep depth that others can sense but not fully access. Mystery creates magnetism because people are drawn to what they can't completely understand. Think about magnetic people. You can't quite figure them out. They have depth you sense but can't access. They don't perform or explain themselves. There's always something withheld, something mysterious. And Jung discovered this mystery is magnetic because humans are drawn to what they can't fully understand or control. One of Jung's analysans described this: I used to overshare, explain everything, make myself completely accessible. Jung said, keep some mystery, don't reveal everything, let people sense depth they can't fully access. When I did this, people became more interested, not less. The mystery was magnetic. They wanted to know more precisely because I wasn't giving everything away. This is what Jung meant by the magnetism of containment. You're not manipulating, you're containing. You share selectively. You don't explain every move. You let your depth be sensed but not fully known. And this mystery creates pull that oversharing never does. You'll recognize this when you stop over-explaining, when you can keep thoughts to yourself, when you're comfortable being partially unknown. That mystery is magnetic. 8 ways to supercharge your spiritual magnetism. Integrate your shadow completely. Wholeness attracts. Eliminate neediness completely. Completion draws opportunities. Develop unwavering self-trust. Others mirror your relationship with yourself. Maintain impeccable boundaries. Stability in chaos is magnetic. Speak truth without apologizing. Clarity commands respect. Become comfortable with silence. Containment conserves power. Walk away from misalignment. Selectivity creates value. Become the mystery. Depth you sense but can't access draws people in. Jung would want you to understand. These aren't manipulation techniques. They're integration methods that create genuine presence. You're not trying to be magnetic. You're becoming psychologically whole. And wholeness is what people unconsciously respond to as magnetism. Most people try to develop magnetism through external techniques. But real magnetism is internal integration manifesting as external presence. You're not learning to project, you're learning to integrate. And integration naturally creates the magnetic field people call aura or presence. If you want to develop genuine spiritual magnetism, forget techniques and focus on integration. Integrate your shadow so you're whole. Eliminate need so you're complete. Trust yourself so others trust you. Maintain boundaries so you're stable. Speak clearly without apology. Hold silence that conserves power. Walk away from misalignment without guilt. Maintain mystery that draws others in. This isn't overnight work. Integration takes time. But as you apply these methods, you'll notice shifts. People respond differently. Opportunities appear. Synchronicities increase. Not from manipulation, but from the natural magnetism that wholeness creates. You're not trying to attract. You're becoming so complete in yourself that attraction happens naturally. That's the difference between technique and transformation. Technique manipulates. Transformation magnetizes. Do the integration work, and magnetism emerges as a side effect of becoming whole. Subscribe to explore Jung's insights on developing authentic presence through integration. To dive even deeper into Jung's revolutionary psychology and what it means for your spiritual awakening, click the recommended video on your screen now.